Streaming live via the internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, broadcasting from Moriarty, New Mexico in the office, and I've got Dennis co-hosting the show and producing it from St. Louis, Missouri. So, what's been going out there? Not much. Got some nice weather out here today, just probably a little bit of wind, but, you know, I'll take that. I can run around in a t-shirt outside. I really like that, especially in February. That's crazy. Been wrapping up. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get the fiber optic project I've been telling you about completed by the end of February, buttoned up and ready to move on to the next one. Wireless network's taking care of itself, supporting itself, and I really like that. Keeps my guys employed and keeps food on their tables and mine. So, Dennis, how's it going out in St. Louis? Before the show, you mentioned it's going to be 80s or something like that. That's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, the weather right now is it's kind of cloudy, but it's the clouds are definitely going away, and it's supposed to be almost 80 today. So definitely not something that is normal for us to sit there and have to run the AC during the month of February. Okay. Normally it's cold and miserable, but right now it's I'll take it. How's that?
Yeah, we'll take it when we can get it, right?
Yep, exactly.
Hey, any news out there? I think I filed my 477s ahead of time. Amazing.
Yeah.
But, anything else out there? Or got Wisp America coming up? Any count of vendors and the like?
Yeah, there's 86 vendors at Wisp America this year. The exhibit hall is completely sold out, so we have sold out their capacity. Definitely a good show coming up in Memphis. Wisp America, you definitely ought to go to it if you can. Of course, Wispapalooza is in October. But the big thing is Form 477. You have 6 days and 12 hours and 56 minutes, according to TowerCoverage.com anyway, to file your Form 477 data as of the first of the year. So you definitely need to get that done as quickly as possible. Of course, TowerCoverage.com can help you with both the broadband and subscription data if you need to. Otherwise, many billing platforms, just make sure the billing platform, we have seen this time and time again, the billing platforms do not really take into account your coverage area. You really need to understand your coverage area, and you need to put the proper information in your coverage area. So you can order that online via TowerCoverage.com if you want to, or you can give us a call if you need multiple files. We do have some discounts available, that type of stuff as well. But it's definitely important to get that done. Remember, all of the CAF funding eligibility comes from the Form 477. So if you do not wish to have a competitor overbuild you with government money, it's pretty important, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
happened to me here.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need to make sure that you file that. And like I said, 6 days, 12 hours, and 55 minutes now.
Funny you've got a countdown on that website.
Yep. Well, I mean, like I said, we do a lot of Form 477s. We can do typically we do the broadband subscription data, which is the coverage, and that's the census blocks. Keep in mind there are 22 million U.S. census blocks in the U.S., so it is extremely improbable that you could sit there and actually write down all the numbers, all the 15-digit codes that you need. We have an automated process that compares your coverage with those and says where you cover, which ones you don't. The broadband subscriber database is census tracts, and there's only like 21,000 census tracts. It's actually pretty easy to do, and a lot of billing platforms do that, but if the billing platform does not have integrated mapping in it of actual coverage, RF coverage mapping, then you are under-reporting your broadband data. So just make sure of that as well.
Yeah, it's good to know. Well, for the show today, I invited and I met these guys at Wispapalooza last year. I met with Jonathan Parks. Jonathan is the technical manager for a WISP in the UK. That's England. And Jonathan agreed to be on the show. I appreciate it. It's about 5:30 his time there. He's probably getting ready to go home, but we appreciate you being on the show. You there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, guys.
Hi. So tell us a bit about what's it like being a WISP to, a foreign country to us in America. What's it like? I mean, what's the similarities and what's the differences? Competitive landscape, FCC, in our case, regulation. Who do you rent towers from? Do you have an American tower idea there that you rent space from, or do you build your own? So with that, sure. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what it's like running a network in the UK.
Yeah, hi guys. I've been at Airband just under 6 years. Started off as a network engineer, came on board with a bit of technical knowledge, college degree, or university degree as we say, in computer network and security. Got offered the job, wasn't too sure really what it was about. Never heard of fixed wireless, heard of wireless, heard of 2.4 gig, 5 gigahertz was just coming out at the time. And that was 6 years ago. I'd moved into moved to a project manager, sales manager before that, and now a technical manager. And we've seen Airband grow considerably. To be a WISP in the UK, it's interesting because there aren't many of us. You don't tend to sort of stumble upon other WISPs. Luckily, certainly in our area, we've only come across 2 others. A couple of years ago, we stumbled upon one. We were amazed. They were very small, and we work around each other, as you know, frequency space, and we make sure we don't step on each other's toes. But yeah, operating as a WISP, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal, to be honest. It's still quite a new and a niche kind of way of getting broadband to customers in the UK, I must admit.
And you guys pretty much focus on rural, right?
Yeah, that's the market really, because where we are in Worcestershire, the county, just west of us in Shropshire and Herefordshire, which are bordering or neighbouring counties, it is very rural. There's a massive need for faster broadband. Fibre isn't in those areas, and ADSL or copper is run very poorly. It's strange, the roads aren't very straight in the UK. They're all over the place around fields, and it is notoriously hard to dig fibre to these areas, and it's expensive. And the only company that are obviously going to do it is BT in the UK, and they either can't do it very quickly or efficiently. So luckily, yeah, the WISP market, or the WISP broadband need is quite considerable. It's great. With rolling landscapes and large hills and mountains, we can put towers up quite quickly and get into these areas well before BT can even give a quote to these businesses or residential customers. It's good.
So you mentioned BT, that's British Telecom, right? The incumbent carrier in England?
That's right, yeah, British Telecom, yeah.
And so any upstream bandwidth you get is through them, correct?
Well, yeah, we can go through Openreach's network. So BT have BT Openreach and BT themselves. BT Openreach are the guys that put the cable in the ground, maintain the network, which is in the ground, and overhead as well. They do overhead cabling. But we started off getting fibre or broadband from a data center. So we'd get a gigabit of bandwidth from a data center in Worcester, and we would feed that from the roof of the data center to one of our masts and then redistribute using our own sites. Then we took a fibre through Virgin Media, who are another internet service provider. You've probably heard of Virgin with Richard Branson. Virgin Media, I think, took over, would have been Cable and Wireless, or who's the company before that? But Virgin Media, the cable providers, so they do the coax cable. underground. So we take a gigabit feed from them at one of our mast sites and redistribute that as well. There's a couple of ways we get our broadband, and there's obviously other ways we get them through Openreach's network directly down to our data center in London.
So there's a competitive landscape, if you will, for your dollars. You're buying your gigabits and stuff.
Sure.
British Telecom, Virgin, and probably a few others.
Yeah, we're currently migrating our old networks, traditionally from our data center in Redditch in Worcester, and also a data center in Telford, which is Internet, Taiwanese-based business or company who do broadband in the UK. We took a gigabit from them at the data center. We're currently migrating to our own Airband feed, which goes through BT Openreach down to Tenny House North, which is a data center in London. So we're currently migrating all of those for cost benefit because we don't need the bandwidth through these data centers anymore.
Well, we had talked, and I'm sure everyone's interested. What kind of gear are you guys using?
Okay, in terms of CPE equipment, we use a mixture of Cambion and Ubiquiti, a little bit of Deliberant, if you've ever heard of that, or what is LegoWave now. So we've experimented over the years with a whole different range of kit. I think Ubiquiti, because it's cheap and cheerful, you get your hands on it and it kind of works, and you think, great, it's working for 2-3 people. Then you start to put 10 on or 15, and it gets a little bit worrying. We started to use Cambion. We got a good close relationship with Cambion in the UK. I think we're their biggest partner, if you like. We do use a lot of Cambion kit now. We've noticed, that's certainly for quantity on our sites. We've got 50, 60 subscribers on an access point. We rarely get calls, probably do 20 meg services, obviously contended to those, and we rarely get calls, I must admit. The sites with 40 customers or 30 customers, no problem at all. 50, 60 might be pushing it on the old Cambion access points, but we use the 450Is and the 450i subscribers. And a little bit costly, but as I say, we've had quite a bit of funding to build these projects, to build these networks projects. So we've wanted to do it well. So yeah, we're trying to use Cambion as a way forward.
So that 450. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah. So do you use any of the EPMP stuff?
No, we want to test the EPMP. Still haven't used any of the EPMP. And talking to Cambion, they said, right, you want to try it out. So we're desperate to try it out. I must admit, we've been talking to Cambion. It'll be literally a matter of days or weeks that we can get an EPMP 2000 or some EPMP kit up here to test.
Gotcha. You'll be really surprised, especially when you put a EPMP up in standard Wi-Fi mode, and then you use the Elevate platform to elevate your Ubiquiti gear, and literally change those into EPMP radios. Really, really neat stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that. We've been told about that, and that's exciting for us because we've got some old legacy masts with Ubiquiti kit on, 3 Ubiquiti access points with about 20 subscribers on each, and that's the push, that's the limit for them. So it'd be nice to try some of this EPMP 2000 kit.
Yeah. So you're seeing a limit of about 20 subscribers before service degrades on the Ubiquiti APs.
Yeah, we tend to do 20 meg services, 20 down, 2 up, and pushing 20 subscribers on an old M5 rocket with one of their sectors it's got to be the maximum. We can offer contended services but no guarantee of service at all on those. They're just we put them up, and as you know, a wireless network or a fixed wireless network grows quite organically. You get customers all over the shop.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the EPMP 2000, I'm hoping next time I speak to you guys, we're going to have 10 of those up using the Elevate with a load of Ubiquiti subscribers, all working, with those. That's the plan. That is the plan.
So, what's been your growth over the past year? I mean, is there a good demand? I mean, we talked about this before the show, and you had thrown out there that you got some funding to do this. Tell us a little bit about your growth and what kind of funding you guys received. I mean, you're probably like ISPs in America where it's heavily self-funded, but you mentioned that you guys got a little bit of funding.
Yeah, I think having worked in all the different areas of the business, I can understand why why directors or managers are very conscious of money. Started off as a network engineer. You wanted to upgrade everything. You wanted to use the best kit. You wanted to put everybody on. But you soon realize that's expensive if you want to start using the best kit in the business. Then pushed into sales because we did have a sales team at the time. So being sales manager, I could see why we were using this kit, why I'm having to charge them this much money, and charge them quite a lot, to be honest. We're quite expensive if you were to compare us to other services. But there's the niche there. People pick us because it's a solution and not a direct competitor to BT's 2 meg through the phone line. So I could see the cost benefit of why we were having to charge so much money. And then I've seen it full circle. So being a project manager and doing these projects, I've understood why we're having to spend the money on this type of kit. But I think in terms of growth, if I could try and just share my Google Earth image we've got, because it probably tell you a better story. I'll just quickly bring this up. So you guys can see my Google Earth map now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So if I zoom out, so you can see the UK in its full glory. Excuse me. So we're based down here in the county of Worcestershire, which it's a bit difficult to see. I know the map's it's full of stuff, so you have to excuse that. But we're close to Birmingham, which is the centre of England, really. We were based purely and solely from an internet feed here in Worcester, feeding all of these sites, essentially. Excuse me. We then built a network in Shropshire, which is this county here. You can just see the border to the left near Churchstoke as it brings down to Kington. As the last 2 years, we finally built networks away from our current network, if you like. So all of this is interconnected from Worcester with a few POPs, so a few point of presences with fibre. Over the last year, we've built a network in South Wales. So you can see Cardiff here, the capital of Wales. And this is all interlinked. You've got Newport, which is a big city next to it. Following the M4, main motorway coming into Port Talbot and Swansea, where we've got another fibre feed. So we built this, obviously with the 3 POPs, you can see Cardiff, Newport and Swansea, all directly feeding to our data centre in London. And also building North Wales, again a separate network, albeit the POPs connecting to our data centre in London. So really, in terms of growth, over the last 2 years, these networks have quite literally popped up out of nowhere. Before these sort of separate networks, all we had was this kind of big mesh, which is messy, and I'm going to tidy it up over the next month or so, because we've got quite a few of these schools which we don't connect anymore. But we're made up of, it's all wireless, by the way. We've got no actual fibre in the ground overhead. This is all fixed wireless. And in terms of competitors, you've got a little bit in North Wales up here, feeding into Liverpool and Manchester. We've got a little bit in South Wales, probably more so down here in Devon, which I haven't touched upon, but these networks have grown over the last year and a half. And in these areas will probably be our biggest areas in the next 2 years to come, because we've won contracts to deliver broadband between these 2 networks as well, which will link up South Devon and North Devon really well. Weather's a little bit better down here, but I guarantee it's still raining today down there. But and by the way, these aren't all built yet. This is kind of a plan. We've got this ring built. All of these sites up top here. This is all built. We've got a ring, which is great. Not quite connecting the 2 networks together yet. And again, I'll just show this link here across the water, just short of 40 kilometres. So 37k is a link we hope to put in next week, using a licensed radio link to connect England to Wales, so North Devon into South Wales. Just means we can feed the top half of North Devon from our Swansea point of presence, which is a gigabit. And with an Xpink CI link across here, we can do 800 meg. We've got a nice 80 gig link doing another gig, and then I think the 500 meg all the way up to the site here. So we can deliver 500 meg capacity into the north. And actually it'll work out as a redundant link, because we will get our internet from another city.
Now, all those places that we see towers and high places, Are
Yeah.
those assets owned by Airband, or are you guys leasing tower space from a company, or how does that work over there?
Yeah, well, our main mast company in the country is called Arqiva, and they own the majority of all commercial masts. We aren't on any of those at the moment. We've got riggers or tower climbers who are trained to go on those masts, just so they can go on any mast, really. In South Wales, we're on three commercial masts, but quite a large one in Cardiff here, overlooking the city, and that's with Surf Telecom. So we're on a few commercial masts, same in Devon. I'd say percentage-wise, we're only probably on 5% commercial compared to all the rest we own ourselves. So we own, the majority of our sites, which is great because we can dictate what we want to do with them, dictate lead times if we want to put kit up. The sites obviously aren't as impressive as the towers. We only tend to put up small towers or telegraph poles. So we tend to put up sort of 10-meter poles high up on land. It's been a big learning curve for us over the last 2 years because we're doing a lot more of that. Our traditional sense in the West Midlands of this network here has always been to go on farm buildings or structures that are naturally high up, and there's not a great deal of structural work to be done. So we can go ahead, put it on barns or buildings, and put telegraph poles and a few small masts in ourselves as well.
So yeah, that's how, like you said, ISP grows organically, and that's how we kind of do it in my neck of the woods anyways, and I know that's what a majority of the folks in rural America do too.
Yeah.
So what's the regulation like there? Is 2, 4, and 5 gig unlicensed like it is here, or is there license requirements? What's that like over there? Is it similar? Have you heard stories of how we get license links?
No, I mean, we apply through Ofcom, so they're the regulating body who look after wireless and the spectrum. So we have licensed radio gear we have to apply for a license for and pay a yearly subscription with them. CPE equipment over here tends to be 5 gigahertz or 2.4, and the majority is 5 gig, and that's the high end of 5 gig. The low end is typically used for indoor, as you know, indoor routers. So we use the high end of 5 gig. So there's not a great deal to use. We don't have the luxury of using 3 gig or sort of the really low end. I think it's 900 megahertz. We don't use any of that over here. So we have to be pretty good on CPE. So the Cambians, luckily, we can do in quantity. So you tend to see 3 or 4 APs at our sites and synced Cambian APs.
Dennis, any questions on the chat?
Nothing yet. I will go. I will definitely check it though. Yep, nothing yet.
So, you mentioned before the show that you guys have acquired a couple of smaller ISPs. Tell us how that went, and
Yeah, sure.
What was the expectation when you did buy those?
Yeah, I think we've taken over 2 small ISPs. One very small. It was a one-man band working out of his own, out of his own house. Realised he could use some of the Ubiquity kit to get around. He had a little bit of Cambian kit as well, but he was just feeding the village he was in and the surrounding villages, and it was all working quite well. I think he took 2 fibre feeds from a well-served area and just bridged that across into some of the neighbouring villages, which worked well. I think when we won a contract with Worcestershire County Council, so the council were here. It was well over that area, so we approached him, and I think he was pretty happy to sort of give it up or to sell it to us or move it to us. So we did that, and I think from time to time he helps us out. He didn't really want it as a full-time project, so it kind of worked well. So we overtook him. So it's been a very small change, but then over the last year, we bought a network down in Devon, which I think had around 500 subscribers. So that's been interesting, and a little bit of a different different network to ours they had. They were using a lot of different relay sites from customers' premises, so it was all a little bit messy. But we're getting around that now. We've sort of moved them over to Airband. But they different approach to us. They've got quite a few fibre feeds within the network that feed small pockets of the network, so it's all a little bit interlinked, and you've got load balancing routers sort of taking similar or two different feeds for one area. So we've got two engineers down there we took on, and they look after that area, and that's North Devon. So it's been interesting. It's been a learning curve for us. But yeah, it made sense because we won the contract in that area. So we're only going to be stepping on each other's toes, like massively stepping on each other's toes. So it kind of made sense. And we've taken the two guys over, which is good.
And they were pleased with the transaction too?
Yeah, I think it could have been a bit smoother, but it was never going to be the smoothest of rides. But we're getting there now. I'm going down there next week to see them. We try and have regular meetings. We've got to do a bit more of that, and we're trying to. There's quite a bit of ubiquity in the network where we want to phase out, and where there's popular areas, bring in some better equipment. Just stuff, some of their sort of backhaul links we want to improve, to put some license gear up, or even just some of the 5 gig they've got, change it from Ubiquiti to 650 Cambian, so the point-to-point solution that Cambian have got, which we really like. It's a bit of a flagship for our sites that are kind of end of the network.
Yeah, you had mentioned before the show that your Wales network was a joint venture or contracted with the country. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, well, Welsh government had a project, an infill broadband project. They tendered out, so it was to basically infill areas where BT weren't going to provide speeds of 30 meg. So the project, they gave us postcodes that we had to deliver speeds of 30 meg download speeds and 5 meg upload speeds too. So we had to hit 85% of the coverage they'd specified in the south of Wales and the north of Wales. So 2 projects respectively. So we took that on, used a variety of kit, majority of Cambian up in the north. We trialled some Ubiquiti AC kit down in the south. So we put some of their Prism access points up and used sort of their Powerbeam AC ISO subscribers, the 300s, to trial as well. So we used a real mix of kit for that. But yeah, I mean, that was funded through Welsh government. We funded a bit of it, but luckily we could get the funding from Welsh government. I think we've now got to try and sell in those areas, and it's becoming popular. We got sales, sort of marketing, leafleting, and selling in those areas, and it's becoming popular. We're finding so many random areas that are covered where they're coming to us saying, yeah, we're getting 5 or 10 meg, we want 30 or 50 meg, and we've been providing it. We've even provided some 100 meg synchronous services, so we call them fixed wireless lease lines. So we do a point-to-point link for them from one of our sites, so it's their own dedicated link. Right. They pay a bit more on the install and pay a nice considerable amount for the monthly charge, which is, sort of the going rate for a lease line. We do 100 down, 100 up to some customers, which is really good.
Do you guys offer them an SLA, or is it just best effort?
Yeah, so we did the fixed wireless lease lines. We'll offer an SLA. We'll do a 4-hour fix time. So we're pretty hot on that. If we can get it fixed within 4 hours, that's the aim. So yeah, and touch wood, it's been pretty good. We got a couple of those in Swansea, Port Talbot, and so yeah, they're pretty good money makers for us, to be honest. And where we got tower space, we can put a nice point-to-point link in for.
And you were mentioning before the show that you have a competitor that pretty much just does city stuff using millimeter gear, and we had some millimeter gear guys on our show telling us about how that works. Is that? I mean, it's, I would say, lightly licensed. Is that correct, Dennis? Would you say 60 gigahertz and 80 gigahertz are lightly licensed? Are they?
Well, one's lightly licensed. That's the 80 gigahertz, and then the 60 gigahertz is just unlicensed. Right.
Is that similar in your neck of the woods, John?
Yeah, I think the E-band stuff, or the 80 gig, I know for a fact is light licensed. So half of 80 gig is designed for mobile phone operators, carriers, and then the other half you pay. I think it's about £50 a year as a light license. Declare your link or your license there. So we're gathering all those up. We've got quite a few now. We've used a CI kit which can push pretty much 2 gigabit per second across sort of about 3 or 4K, which is pretty impressive. I know there's some some better kit and some other kit out there. But the CI tends to be the biggest one we use, and we're just starting to use Ceragon now, and used a bit of Cycler as well for the shorter distance links. But yeah, we do use them. But that company in Manchester, the company who operate around cities, they tend to use the millimeter of the radios quite a bit because of the high throughputs.
What kind of license gear are you guys using to your high capacity ones?
So yeah, we use CIA or CI as they're called, that Italian company. Ceragon is probably we're collaborating with them, using quite a lot of their kit now, some of their IP20s. We've had some old IP10s from Ceragon for probably nearly 10 years now, and touch wood, they haven't put a foot wrong. The only problem we've got with those is the firmware on them is so old that we have to find an old version of Internet Explorer to fire up and get into it via that way, which, yeah, it's a bit tricky, but you don't need to touch them. You put them up like a good, like a lot of expensive radio equipment. You can put it up, and you don't have to go back to them, thankfully. Luckily, so yeah, we're starting to use a lot more Ceragon. We have used some of the 24 gigahertz fibers, trialed those on shorter distances, and yeah, I mean, it's ubiquity. It does what it says it can produce, but then you just got to be very wary of rain and rain fade on those if you're trying to go too far. We have pushed the boundaries. I think we did an 18-kilometer link on an Airfiber 24 HD, which worked until it snowed the week after.
Yeah, that's true.
We took it down. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What are your pricing?
To the limit.
Sorry about that. What's your pricing on like 11 gig license link? Are you using any Mimosa gear?
No, we're not using any Mimosa. We'd like to. We'll have some trial kit from them, which we are going to use. I think it's more of a case of the CPE and the access point. But no, we've not used any of their license kit. I think Ubiquity are doing the 11 gig, which we'd like to try. But price, in terms of licensing, I know we're talking thousands per month, per year, annually for the license, but I couldn't tell you what we pay. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with licensing personally, but I know obviously there's an annual charge for for licensing with Ofcom.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't know.
Gotcha.
Like here, license link's good for 10 years. What's the length on a license for you guys?
I think we're paying yearly. I don't know in terms of the license. I know all we've ever done is apply for the license with Ofcom. You get the license, we put the frequencies in, and guess we pay an annually fee for that. But I wouldn't know the term, actually. That's one thing I need to look at.
Well, Dennis, you got any questions?
No, sir. I mean, there's no questions on the chat, and we've covered quite a bit already.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear how rural providers in the UK are doing it. It sounds extremely similar to how we're doing it in rural America.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. So,
you guys probably on your farms and stuff where you relay your signal off of, you probably give the client free internet, right? Like we all do here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're pretty happy to have a free broadband connection, because usually, obviously, being rural, they've usually got either no internet or very slow internet. So we rock up and say, "Oh, we could probably give you 30 or 50 meg for free." And I'm like, "What?" So before you even spoke about money, they've already said yes, which is good. But because we've grown and having to find so many sites all the time, we've now got an official site acquisition manager, if you like, on board. He's been a real good asset to the company because he's doing the job of going around, working with the mapping guys we have in the office. So just going back to growth, about 2 years ago, we didn't have these types of guys in the company. We were still about 15 of us, 12 of us. Whereas I'd say we're now talking 30 to 40.
Wow.
Early 30s, getting a bit carried away, but maybe 30, 32 employees. We've got 2 mapping guys who are in the office. We've got the site acquisition manager. Before all this, it was just me. And I had to go around and find all these sites, speak to them, sign them up. And actually, it was a great job. When I first started the South Wales project, it was kind of, okay, I've got technical experience. I've got a little bit of sales, so I can go and speak to these guys on farms. It was in South Wales. I'd only ever been down that way a couple of times to get a Cardiff. So it was a nice experience, really. But now we're much more equipped to win these projects because you've got your managers in different sectors. And now being technical manager, we've got to put it all together in terms of what kit to use, what radios to use at what distance. Everything seems to be bespoke. We try and make a unique site document that does every site, but not every site's the same. They can all be telegraph poles, but they can be different radios at different heights and what you need in terms of power. So we're just trying to get a standardize all our sites and documentation at the moment. I think that's one thing we fall down on a little bit, being so organic, everything growing so quickly, sales trying to push through sales all the time, and throwing them on my desk and saying that we want to get it installed in 2 weeks. I'm thinking, don't have a site, but we'll try. But yeah, we did just recently. We did a lease line, a fixed wireless lease line to a company near one of our main motorways. It was 36 or 35 kilometers away from the mast. Good line of sight. Using Lego Wave. I think you heard the old Lego Wave. Nice radios. I think it's about £3,000 for a pair, but we put a link up for them. It was 20 meg synchronous service. They're paying in the region, well over £300 per month. It's probably $500. And we connected it at neg 66, 65. And a speed test, unrestricted speed test, we were seeing 70, 80 meg speeds, which is pretty impressive over that. I mean, I hope there's not going to be any rain fade. It's 5 gigahertz, so it should be fine. But at that distance, we surprised ourselves. So we still, I'm sure you guys do, surprise yourself with wireless. We still put links up and sometimes it can be a horrible surprise. You think, hang on a minute, I can see this site. What's going on? Why is it? And you look at your signal to noise and you think, oh, who's pointing a 10-meter dish at me with something on full power? So I think you still surprise yourself in the industry, being in it 6 years. So that's nice. That's a nice thing we did recently. So yeah.
Yeah, no, my story of the surprise is a 100 meg link from a rocket, Ubiquity rocket to an M5. Ran it unthrottled. It was over 100 megs. I'm all, there's no way.
Yeah, it's incredible. You do surprise yourself. I think the Ubiquities are funny because when they marketed their M5 kit and said it does over 100 meg, but the land speed was only ever 100.
Yeah.
I thought,
right. What's the point?
Can you do that? Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
I must admit,
I remember.
I
remember sitting there and hooking up a CB3, 802.11b stuff, and getting a mag about 12 miles out, and I was like,
wow.
What? I got a meg? Holy cow. I mean, we only had a meg and a half feeding the whole network then. And, that was back in 2001. So, it's definitely been a while.
I think my boss would relate to that. I think he had similar surprises when he was putting the first piece of kit up. I think, do you know John Speakman from, give him a name called John Speakman from Mimosa? I think he was at the show, an English guy. I just think he's doing sales for. I think he sold the first wireless kit to my boss, and they set it up at his house to a hill, and I think they got it all set up, and he couldn't believe, what he was seeing. And this it must be early 2000s, I'm guessing.
Right.
So yeah. With Mimosa?
No, sorry. He would have been working for. I don't know. Could have been Alvarium back in the day.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds about right, but I don't know where he was at that time.
No, so he's been there a while, sure.
Yeah.
Well, is there any advice you want to give us? I mean, it sounds like you guys are going through explosive growth, and the things you mentioned of the growth pains you have, documentation. We all know we got to do better documentation, and you guys have hired the right people to backfill those needs where you're not the only one doing it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, for us, sorry, Steve. For us, it's customer expectation. If you can't. We struggle with our sales team, and they're doing a great job, and I wouldn't take anything away from them, but we can sometimes give very high expectation. You just never know with wireless. That's why some of our surveys for businesses, we try and do them very thorough, so that we know when we come to install it, we know what speed we're going to get. We know we can get a signal. We've got an IP address ready for them. We try and get it all set up ready, basically. Too many times in the past, we go to install, we haven't surveyed it properly, The signal wasn't quite the same as when we first looked at it, and you don't want to put yourself in a bad position. So it's preparation, I think.
Right. Setting expectations. Right.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, it's just getting dark. Go back and make dinner, I guess.
Exactly. Well, hopefully you get to come to Wispapalooza. It would be great to see you again and have a pint.
I hope so. Look forward to it.
All right, Dennis. Well, if there's nothing else, let's wrap it up.
Not a problem.
Thank
you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.